Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are going to talk on, as we are continuing the series related to the industrial safety. We are going to start a very interesting topic, and that is about statutory legislations. Now, bear with my condition, but yes, why I'm putting this video, because there was a high demand that how it is related. So basically, when we were discussing the course, and in which we started with basic accident prevention. So the basic accident prevention also included statutory legislations as well. So now this is element 2, and in element 2 this is part 2, wherein we will be covering about statutory legislations. Now, what are statutory legislations? What are the legal requirements, right? So what are the legal requirements? So in India, we have the Factories Act 1948 and rules, correct? Now these rules and acts are being amended time to time. But what we need to do is know exactly is when the Factories Act started. So this Factories Act 1948 came in force with effect from first day of April 1949. Naturally, the country got independent, the constitution wasn't getting in place, and so was the requirement to form an industrialization policy. So it is framed by the central government and applicable to all the registered factory throughout the country. The main objective of the act was to control the working condition in the factory so that health and safety and welfare of workers are taken care as per Article 39C and 42 of the Constitution of India. Now, the provision of this act is to do the enforcement, and when it is being enforced, so who will enforce it? The state governments in the registered factory of the respective state. So there came an advisory service also. So Director General of Factory Advisory Service and Labour Institute was formed in Mumbai, which is the technical wing of Ministry of Labour and Employment. So Government of India coordinates with various state governments for uniform administration in this act. So DG Fastly organization also coordinates with various trade unions, manufacturer associations and industries to prepare draft amendment in the act. The act has been amended several times. The very first amendment came in 1954, then in 1976, and last in 1987. And recent developments we are all aware of. Now, in 87, the major changes came post Bhopal gas strategy. So that is why these 3 years were important, correct? So now why these things, the Central Act came to amendment when anything happened. So that is why people need to prepare for them. Now the Factories Act 1948 has in all 120 sections covered under 11 chapters and 3 schedules. Now what are these? So let us try and understand. So first chapter, so there are 11 chapters. So first chapter is the preliminary introduction, which covers up to section 1 to 7b. So number of sections are 8. Now second chapter is inspecting staff. It's having around 8 to 10 sections, and it covers 3 sections. Now health, that is chapter number 3. It covers from 11 to 20 section, and there are total 10 sections there. In safety, there are 21 to 41, wherein 36A, 40A, 40B and 41. These are crucial ones. So there are 24 sections of safety. So if you want to refer to what is there in safety, so you have to refer Factories Act chapter 4, say in safety, section 21 to 41, wherein 36A, 41, 40A, 40B and 41. They are all sections. So in safety there are 24 sections. Now coming to 4A. So the provision related to hazardous processes is explained in 41A and up to 41H. So there are 8 sections which clearly defines only about provision related to hazardous processes. Fifth chapter includes welfare, wherein there are 42 to 50, that is 9 sections. So section number 42 to 50 covers welfare, and there are 9 sections in welfare. Correct. Now coming to the working hours of adults, that is chapter 6, which is of section 51 to 66. There are 16 sections there. Chapter 7, that is employment of young persons, that covers from 67 section to 77, that covers 11 sections. Now annual leaves and wages, that is chapter 8. So 78 to 84 section is there. So there are 7 sections there. Now chapter 9 comes under special provisions. So if somebody wants to refer to some special provisions, they have to go there and refer to it. So it is from section 85 to 91, and 87A, 88A, 91A are all added. So there are around 10 sections there. Coming to the chapter 10, that is about penalties and procedures. So if you want to understand that, okay, if we don't do this, then what are the penalties? So basically, somewhat more some idea you can get that what are the legalities there involving, which involves penalties. So it is from section 92 to 106, and 96A, 104A, and 106A comes under this, and there are around 18 sections there. Now chapter 11 consists of this supplemental. Now these are called supplemental because 107 to 120 are here. 111A and 118A. So supplemental means all your training requirements, all other steps, what are the training requirements, what are the training institutional requirements, that comes under these sections. So there are around 16 sections in supplementals where you can get all the information. Now the first schedule that we will talk of. So it has a list of 29 types of industry involving hazardous processes, correct? So the first schedule, what you'll get in first schedule? So the first schedule has a list of 29 industries involving hazardous processes. So if you fall under that category, you just have to refer these and you have to comply with that. Now coming to the second schedule, it has a table showing permissible level of certain chemical substances in work environment, expressing the time weight average, that is TWA, concentration for 8 hours. So this comes under the personal monitoring front. So the industrial hygiene branch, that we think that okay, it is a very new thing. So no, it is there. It is already there since long. It was there, but now the awareness has started growing. So time weight average TWA concentration for 8 hours, that is the total exposure, as well as the short term exposure limit, that is STEL, short term exposure limit STEL for 15 meters is also given there. Then permissible level are expressed both in parts per million ppm and milligram per cubic meter, that is mg per meter cube. So that is also mentioned there in second schedule. So you can refer to this. Now the third schedule, it has a list of 29 types of notifiable diseases. So this is like what type of occupational illnesses are notifiable when it comes to occupational health. So OHC curriculum and all other stuff. So if you want to understand that which type of exposure, which type of disease, so it is covered under the third schedule. Now silent features of Factories Act 1948. I'll just quickly give a brief because this video is going to be the extreme shortest one because I'm just trying to cover everything best possible in very limited time period. So few important definitions and meanings and terms are there. So meaning of the term factory is there in section 2M. So what it says, premise including persistent wherein 10 or more workers are working, or where working lasts for 12 months and is aided by power, or 20 or more employee working, where working lasts for 12 months within the aid of power and carry. So basically the definition clarifies that what is called a factory and what is not called a factory. See, basically the factory's definition stands where there are people and say 10 number of people and 12 months of operation. So if minimum 10 number of people are present there, so and work is going on for 12 hours, it is a factory. If working is going on and 12 months, 20 or more, so with aided power, so it's a site, so that also comes under factory. So it includes everything. Now, there is a definition of worker manufacturing process is also there. So worker, then coming to the definition of the term in section 2CB, that is hazardous process. So it means any process or activity in relation to an industry specific in first schedule where unless special care is taken, raw material used therein or the intermediate or finished products, byproducts, waste or effluent therefore would cause material impairment to the health, material impairment to the health of the worker or result into the pollution to the general environment. So there, hazardous processes in section 2CB defines by two parts, that is anything that can cause health damage or pollution, environmental damage. So that comes under hazardous process. Now, a few important provisions of the Act are responsibility for implementing the provisions for the Act under section N, section 2N, wherein the occupier and factory manager as per section 2N the Act is defined. So the Act puts the responsibility of compliance for various provisions and rule framed thereunder on the occupier and the factory manager as per section 2N of the Act. The occupier is a person who is ultimately the control of overall affairs of the factory. So that is what is there. The general duties of the occupier is defined with Factories Act section 7A. So there are general duties explained there. The general duties of manufacturers regards to the article and substances for the use of factories, that is 7B. Then ventilation and temperature is section 13. Prevention and accumulation of dust and fumes in section 14 you can see. Overcrowding in section 16 you can refer. In every factory at least 14.2 cubic meter of space shall be available for every worker working in any workroom. So that is the criteria, and while calculating this space, no account shall be taken for any space above 4.5 meter or above the floor level of room. So that is very clear. Then lighting provisions you can check in section 17. Drinking water provisions you can check in section 18. Fencing and machinery you can check in section 21. Registration of employment and young person on dangerous machine is section 26. Hoist and lifting is section 28. Lifting machines, chains, ropes and lifting tackles you can see in section 29. Then pressure plants, that is any plant machinery which is observed under pressure above the atmospheric pressure, so it is section 31. Then pits, sumps, opening in floors, that is section 33. That is every fixed vessel, sump, tank, pit or opening on the ground which by reason of depth in any situation possesses a source of danger, so that comes under section 33. Now coming to the excessive weight, that is section 34. So no number of persons shall be employed in the factory to lift, carry and move any load. So how much is the weight? This question flows everywhere in any social media. So in excessive weight, section 34, it is clearly defined. Male adult 55 kg, female 30 kg as per Factories Act, Indian Factories Act, and Government of Maharashtra and Delhi have prescribed for the following limits. So that is what they have defined. Then protection to the eye is given in section 35. Precaution against dangerous fumes and gases is given in section 36. Precaution regarding the use of various portable electrical lights, that comes under section 36A. What you would call as intrinsically safe lights, so it comes under the appliances of voltage exceeding 24 volts in a confined space arrangement, so that comes under section 36A. Explosive and flammable dust gas, that comes under section 37. Then coming to the precaution in case of fire, that comes under section 38. wherein all practicable measures shall be taken to prevent the outbreak of fire and its spread. Safe means of escape for all persons, as well as necessary equipment and facility to extinguish fire shall be provided and maintained. All workers shall be made familiar about the above means of escape and everything, right? So this comes under section 38. Now coming to the safety officer requirement, so that comes under section 40B. So every factory within 1,000 and workers and ordinary employee is prescribed to have a safety officer. So that definition is given. Now we usually don't go by the definitions. We must have, nowadays we must have a safety officer in every organization, or else you can train people or who are responsibly taking care of these activities. So it is not about the safety officer as a post, but each individual, if they are doing their work on their own and they are taking precautions and they are maintaining everything, so you don't need that. Correct. Then coming to the welfare officer, so it comes under section 49. So in every factory, 500 and more workers, so you need a welfare officer. Then provision related to the industry involving hazardous process comes under chapter 4A. So a list of 29 types of industries mentioned in schedule 1 is categorized as those industries which involve hazardous processes. The act mentions certain special provisions to be complied by such industries, wherein there are some special provisions. So what are those? That is first, whatever is given in schedule 1. So we have categorized it in different sections. So how it is categorized, I'll just explain in very brief. Constitution of Site Appraisal Committee comes under section 41A. Compulsory disclosure of information by the occupier comes under section 41B. Specific responsibility of the occupier comes under section 41C. Power of central government to appoint inquiry committee comes under 41D, section 41D. Emergency standards comes under section 41E. Permissible limit of exposure of chemicals and toxic substances comes under section 41F. Workers' participation in safety management is defined in section 41G. Then rights of worker to warn about imminent danger comes under section 41H. So you can refer these sections and you will have a clear-cut idea. Now the above the 8 sections, that is 41A to 41H, a brief description I'll just quickly tell you. Every state government appoints a committee to recommend for permission to intimate and expand the factory involving hazardous process. That comes under section 2CB. Correct? So the committee constitutes CIF as chairman. Other government department representative from central and state pollution control board, town planning are involved in this. So that is what site appraisal committee is all about. Now each section has some specific criteria and requirements, like I said. So now what we are more concerned with is that the section 41F, because in chemical industries all these questions are coming. So like I have explained earlier also, the maximum permissible threshold limit of exposure, TWA and STEL, is in both ppm and mg per meter cube of chemical and toxic substances in manufacturing process should not exceed the value intended in the second schedule. So that is what is given there. That comes under section 41F. Right. Now coming to the worker participation in safety management, that is defined that the occupier should set up a safety committee and an equal number of representative of workers and management to promote cooperation between workers and management in maintaining proper safety, health and work. So this is where it is specified, section 41G. Correct. Now coming to the notice of certain accidents, that is part of section 88, where in any factory an accident occurs which causes death or such injury to a person that injured person is prevented from working for at least 48 hours. The manager of the factory shall send a notice to such an accident to the factory inspector within such time frame as stipulated by the state government in the state state factory rules that comes under section 88. Now, right to workers. So, right to workers is part of section 111A. Now, right to worker comes under training. So, here what is written, clearly written is, so don't be fooled by whatever every other person is saying. Just read these lines very carefully. Every worker in the factory shall have the right to, first, obtain from the occupier information related to workers' health and safety at work, get trained within the factory or by a recognized training center or institutions on matters related to health and safety at work, represent to the factory inspector in a matter of inadequate provision for protection of his health and safety in the factory. So these are the provision. So there is nothing like, if you are getting trained, if you are getting people trained within your facility, you don't need certifications and all sort of things. So this is there, it is already mentioned. People get confused, a lot of confusions are there. Then coming to the general penalties and offences. So as that is chapter 10, as per section 92, if there is any contravention of any of the provision of the act or rules framed thereunder, the occupier and the manager of the factory shall each be guilty of an offence punishable with imprisonment of maximum 2 years and fine up to rupees 1 lakh or both. In case of contravention is related to certain provision applicable to hazardous processes, section 41B, C and H, as per section 96A, the punishment may extend up to 7 years of imprisonment with fine up to 2 lakh rupees. So this is what penalty and offences are given in chapter 10 in section 92. Now the state factory rules doesn't specify much extra, so I'll not be explaining the state factory rules, but yes, every state has different sections and rules. So state factory rules in excess power by section 112 of the Factories Act. So all that is given. Now you can refer. I hope I was able to clarify or rather give you as much insight as possible regarding Factories Act and what are the provisions. So I hope if you have liked the video till here, you have subscribed us, you have liked us, you have shared our videos, and keep liking and sharing. And thank you, friends.